Welcome to Show Epic, your extraordinary portal to the pulse of gaming, pop culture, and the heart of fandom in Columbus, Georgia. All right, so we're actually in the car. I am in the car with Alex Owens, who is a fellow nerd here in Columbus, but also the host of a podcast, Systems Wild.
One of many hosts.
One of many hosts. Right. It's a cooperation. So, Alex, introduce us to you, a little bit about you, and what are the cool, amazing, nerdish, awesome things that you are doing here in Columbus?
Hi, yes, I am Alex Owens. I am one of the hosts of Systems Wild, but also, I guess, the founder. This Systems Wild is primarily my brainchild, and then, of course, I roped all my friends into this. But, yeah, so I'm an artsy theater kid at heart, nerd before theater, so obviously bring that into it, everything from card games to Doctor Who to RPGs, Star Wars, you name it. I have had an interest in it, for sure.
And Dungeon Master Extraordinaire.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about Systems Wild, and if you get the chance to listen to Systems Wild, it's just about everywhere that you can find podcasts.
That's right. That's right. It's on all major streaming platforms for podcasts, although our primary listener base is Spotify, but I will say, if you leave an Apple Podcast review, you will get called out.
Nice.
A shout out on the podcast. So that's pretty sweet.
Fantastic. And so tell us about Systems Wild. What makes it unique? Why is it not your mama's D&D RPG podcast?
Well, we all love D&D. We all love Dungeons and Dragons. I've only played 5e. It's where I started. I'm not one of these old coots who've been playing since advanced D&D.
Wow. I hate how you just called me out there, but that's fine. All right, continue.
It's okay. There's a spot in the world for all of us. But in general, I would say that I'm a part of this generation of people who have been impacted by this resurgence of Dungeons and Dragons media. You have the success of Critical Role, right. Dimension 20, NADPOD, all of the Adventure Zone, all of these both audio and video mediums of actors and performers telling stories using D&D.
And now that Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year.
Absolutely.
That pushes D&D even farther into the light.
Well, even the D&D movie,
Oh yeah, most
that
definitely.
was with how many huge names got attached to it, and you hear more and more about it. It's becoming just like with everything in nerd culture. It used to be this thing that would get you kind of like shunned, but now you have your like hipster nerds who are like, well, being a nerd is cool now.
And it gets, I want to talk, and we'll talk about this for the after show content, but I would love to talk about how TTRPGs like D&D can wind up getting gate-kept and stuff like that for a new generation. But you were talking about Systems Wild and what goes on in that podcast.
Absolutely. If you can't tell, and this is what you will get when you listen to Systems Wild, is tangent after tangent after tangent. That's why our episodes are so long, mainly. But yes, Systems Wild really stems from the origins of me wanting to play a specific genre, and D&D just didn't cut it.
Yeah.
Genuinely, that's what it is. D&D is wonderful for fantasy. It's wonderful for making you feel like a superhero that's unstoppable whenever you're rolling well, obviously.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you want to run something like a detective noir or like a horror or murder mystery or whatever, it's hard to do a murder mystery when you could just cast Zone of Truth and everyone fails and suddenly who the murderer is.
Yeah.
Not even by answering. They just have to not say anything and obviously they'll be the murderer. So that really, it stemmed from that. It stemmed from my interest in other TTRPGs. So when you listen to Systems Wild, you'll hear, depending on when this has come out, we've already gone through, we do our main campaign of Dungeons and Dragons, and that might swap up with future seasons. But we have our main campaign, and then we have our rotating list of RPGs that we're going to be going throughout this season, things like GURPS, Lancer. We've already gone through Call of Cthulhu as our first Halloween one-shot.
Awesome.
That was interesting. That Call of Cthulhu is the TTRPG where literally it's you step on a rock and everyone dies. And listen to our episodes of Call of Cthulhu. It very much is a stereotypical ending for Call of Cthulhu. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And we are currently swapping between our main D&D campaign as well as Masks, the New Generation.
Oh, nice.
Kind of like a young justice coming-of-age story.
So how often do you actually flip through these different systems?
Really, we've been trying to hone in on that. Initially, we started off with a hard set, 3 on D&D, 1 on the third or on the second system. But the more we played in these other systems, the more we wanted to play. So these one shots turned to 2, 3 shots, everything like that. So now it's kind of we just gauge it out of as soon as we finish an arc in D&D, we'll start an arc in another campaign, and then we'll finish that arc and we'll go back to D&D. Nice. So that's really, really been a fun time. But also, it really just depends on what the heck we want to play. I've always stressed to my players and to my fellow hosts that no matter what, even though we're creating this for content, at the heart of it all, we should still be just playing a game.
Yeah.
And we need to have our own enjoyment first.
Right.
And as listeners, as someone who partakes TTRPG media, I find that I enjoy it a lot more when I know they are enjoying everything just as much, not just for the sake of creating content, for sure.
I think part of being a DM is making sure that your players are at least having fun. That's primary. All of the other stuff comes secondary, but if they're having fun, if they're rolling with it, if they can jive with it, that seems to be the primary job of DM. Cool. So, any other projects that you are currently working on? I know that you're sort of an entrepreneurial kind of individual. Tell us about any other scripts or books or anything that you kind of want to leak here first.
Well, thank you, David. I'm here to announce the worldwide premiere of my 500-page audio-visual drama. No. I am working on my first editing my first short film that I filmed at the beginning of the year.
Fantastic.
It's called The Zone, which is a very interesting one. It's very much a takeoff of toxic workaholic culture. Eventually, I won't spill too much, but it's a monkey's paw scenario of what if you had all the time in the world to get all of the work done that you needed to, at a cost. I'll just leave it at that, a little teaser for our listeners. But other than that, personal works of, helping out in the theater space a little bit, working on my next short film project, which is going to be a dramatization of the origins of Kite Man.
Kite Man.
Specifically from the storyline in the comic series, The War on Jokes and Riddles, and about how how the point where Kite Man turned from a joke character to a very tragic joke character.
Yes.
So it's going to be very sad, very depressing, but also got a few. I got like 5 scripts in the works right now, and it's really just a choice of when do I want to start working on them. A D&D short that's based off of a moment in the Curse of Strahd module. Specifically, there's a moment where the players find a dead messenger with a letter warning the adventurers and warning anybody to not go to the town of Barovia. To not come to Barovia, and so it's going to be kind of an origin story of that letter.
Oh, that's cool.
It's going to be fun for sure.
Well, so you can find Systems Wild on like we said originally on any podcast network. Also, how can they keep up with you, Alex?
With me personally.
Yeah. If they want to find out more about all the cool things that you're doing.
Well, personally, I haven't. My Instagram is at willact4foods because you give me food and I'll act a fool for sure. But also, you can follow specifically if you want any Systems Wild news. We have our website, systemswild.com, as well as our Twitter, or X, if you want to call it like that, at Systems Wild.
Yeah, love it. We'll include all those links in the show notes. Alex, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for keeping Columbus nerdy, and we appreciate you and all of your crew doing this inside of our awesome city. And catch us next time here on Show Epic. Thanks, Alex.
See you on the flip.
Hey everybody, this is David Lee, host of Show Epic. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this amazing podcast as we try to keep our fingers on the pulse of all things nerdy in Columbus, Georgia. Listen, if you subscribe now for our exclusive content, it's only $5 and you get access to some cool after shows and exclusive episodes that we're going to be releasing in the future. We would love to be able to call you part of the Show Epic family. Also, just want to mention that we will be at the Georgia Comic Con coming up. You can look for us at a table called So Epic, and we'll be there. We would love to meet you, and we are always looking for new people to cover, new interviews to do here in the Columbus area of people who are helping to keep Columbus nerdy. You can find more about the power behind Show Epic at soepic.com, SOWEPIC.com, and exactly what we're all about. And we look forward to being able to continue to bring you great content and open your eyes to all of the cool, wonderful, whimsical, nerdy stuff that's going on here in Columbus. Thank you so much.